Welcome. A quick update on my game of Thunder in the East. Remember last time I was making a comment about things were going to turn on the Case Blue offensive in terms of the Germans' chances, and that I wanted to play it through to see what the outcome could be, what the potential was. So we've sort of done that. We're now in the second week of August, which was when the offensive was actually launched. I had to wait for an HQ to get itself in position to support the attack, and of course when you reposition an HQ, there's a delay of 3 turns before it becomes online again, and so it was a case of trying to hold the line elsewhere whilst waiting for the right timing. It's been quite effective. We'll get to see the map in a minute. Potentially the front around Moscow has been forced to yield a bit of ground, but nothing sort of too catastrophic. And the northern shoulder, which was the biggest threat to the German position, was reinforced as a couple of Panzer Corps and 2 Panzer divisions moved into that sector, which stabilised the threat and made a few counterattacks. And they've also been bolstered by the Italians, who turn up in August. So there's a couple of corps, and the HQ has been deployed. The HQ is in Cornus. Just going through the countdown procedure. Russian Air Force has been clobbered. When they weren't making so many ground attacks, the Luftwaffe were concentrating their efforts on bombing airfields. There are other bombing missions available in the game, apart from ground support and airfield attack, but I never seem to have the need to, or the sort of temptation to sort of try something different. I think if you can negate the threat of the Russian Air Force and support your ground troops, I mean, there's ways that you can do industrial bombing on cities to possibly negate some of the production. But to me, I think you get a better bang for your buck hitting the airfields, and you need to do it over a number of. It's not like a one-off. You need to do it as a sort of cumulative effect, and that's where we've got to at the moment. One thing about the air, CRT has published, which I'm not sure where it's got to, but there it is. So I'm using the standard CRT for both ground and air, actually. As I said before, with a slight modification to the AP result on the ground combat table. The air combat table's got this funny thing that goes on where you get a double result. So at +1 you get an abort with a 4, but with a 5 you get a damage followed by an abort. So bigger numbers are better. Except that's not always the case, because if you're only attacking a single aircraft, which typically happens when the escorts try and hit back at any interceptors, if you get the double result, you just use the first one. So if you get a 5, which is a defender, and an abort result, you take the damage result, not the abort result. Whereas if you'd thrown a smaller number, you'd get a better result, which seems a bit counterintuitive. Now, there's a comment in the rule book that it's been done that way to simulate the losses, and if you were able to choose the best result, then it would unbalance the losses. And well, don't know. I mean, maybe they did an intensive sort of Monte Carlo random sort of probability analysis where they ran lots of numbers and tried applying the worst result and found that the losses were too high. Not sure that really happened. And given that the CRT for the air has now changed again, in fact, there's been many more changes since this one, which came in the game, which was supposedly the one that was shouldn't be tampered with because you'd be upsetting the balance in the air war. It's all been changed anyway. So I took the decision that I like CRTs to make sense to me. So if I roll high, and generally high is better, I don't want high to be sometimes worse. So I just play that you can, when you roll a dice, you can take that result or any result below it on the table. So if I roll a 5, which is the defender abort result, but I'm only attacking a single unit, so I've got to use the damage result, not the abort result. I could say, well, I'm going to use the 4, not the 5, and take the abort. It's a personal choice. It feels better to me. It feels more intuitive. I'm not sure I buy into the upsetting the whole air casualty apple cart. All the wheels are going to come off. How often was it played out anyway into the late war from the start? No idea. It just makes more sense. It feels better, and that's what I'm using. But I'll show you around the map. I've really enjoyed it. And I'm debating whether to keep going. I mean, now there is a big hole in the Russian line in the south. It's on the northern shoulder of the southern drive, which you'll see in a minute. But there's like a 3 hex wide gap. So something for the Russians to be concerned about. And I'd like to see whether they can patch it up and still maintain pressure elsewhere. So maybe we'll keep going on for a bit longer. Right, let's have a look at the map. So you may remember the sort of northern sector. That has probably moved a bit in the Russian favour since the last video, but now you'll see the Italian HQ. There's a couple of Italian corps in there helping to prop up the line, and the Germans have actually pushed back in this area because they were concerned about their HQ here, which is in that's Vyazma. So be concerned about the rail line down here being cut off by the incursion of Russian forces. So they've committed some mechanised units which have pushed the Russians back and caused a few losses in this area. Give them a bit of breathing space. The Russians have pushed back quite a bit around Moscow, clearly not under threat anymore. But as a counterpoint to that, in the south, you'll see the result of Case Blue being launched. You can't cross from Zok to Zok over a major river, so you can get away with a more staggered defensive line, and the Panzer armies have managed to avoid the defence line and attack north. They're now over the river and could come around the back to threaten Stalingrad. So it's quite interesting. The Blitzkrieg card was played last turn, and they've actually got in their back pocket the German Generals card, which is the medium card. You can have a large and a medium and a small. It's like normal stacking in the game. So they've got this card, which can give an extra shift to an HQ in attack mode. So that's looking like quite a threat from here now, with a potentially a double shift. They've got 3 offensives in reserve. Yeah, could be quite dangerous. And the air war, you can see there's a lot of suppressed Russian air. They're about to have their turn, so there'll be, how many are there? There's 10 there, so 5 of them will try and recover, of which only 3 will lose their suppression. So if the Luftwaffe keep their boot on the neck of the Russian air, that could start to get very painful. Didn't buy any flak. I mean, flak may be the answer. We'd probably invest in some of that in the future if I was to play it again. So that's been quite instructive. So I'm playing it pretty much with what's in the box. There's nothing new, no new cards or counters or play aids. It's just a different interpretation of some of the rules, and a few, I say, like the air to air CRT, a few little tweaks that I use just because it kind of feels better to my mind anyway. But maybe I'll keep going with it.